Friends, after the earlier process that we discussed about readings from my books and going ahead with how I ideated, how I created a plot, how I did conflicting, I did characters, and how I tried to see what is the aspect of a conflict in a character or a story plot. How is the conflict to be brought out in the initial stages? Now, I have not given you any detailed idea about certain aspects which I feel is important. Like you have to break the story, into some segments. Like for example, chapters. Make it into different chapters. The story can be made into different chapters. You can see this chapter 1, chapter 2. So all this can be decided right at the beginning. And more important is, you need not write the story if it is in your mind. If you have already created a plot, then it is imperative that you do not even look into which chapter you are attending now, and you just keep your chapters ready. Suppose if in this book there are 13 chapters, all the 13 chapters I used to approach in some portion or the other, and I used to finish that part. But ultimately it has to sync with the entire system, because the readers will not excuse you if you don't give them the kind of reading that they need, because this is very important. And most important is this, that you have to always keep the readers in mind, the readers interest first. What will they like, whether they would love to read a story from you, whether they would feel happy about it. All these are important aspects, and it is essential that you keep the reader's interest always in mind while penning down. Now, some writers have also the habit of saying that make the first paragraph a very compelling paragraph, a very imperative aspect. Many writers have heard and listened in various forums who have been speaking that make the first sentence, the first line, the first paragraph a very compelling paragraph, so gripping that it will make the reader read another 10 pages. And I am 100% sure that if a reader reads 10 to, and you have your experience in front of you, if you read 10 to 15 paragraphs, 20 paragraphs, in those 20 paragraphs or 10 what do you call it, not paragraphs, 10 pages, if you have not found anything of substance, you will definitely discard the book. That is the usual experience of all the writers. Even I do that many times. If I don't find anything interesting in the first 10 maybe 10 pages, I just skip that book. I keep it aside. I will read it some other time when I feel more motivated, interested, or maybe perhaps in the second chapter the story is covered in better. So these are the important aspects. Third is, how do you begin, whether as a plotter or as a pantster? See, when I began my novel as a pantster, because I visualized the Singapore scene, I visualized the scene of Mumbai, which happened, and then in 2015 I created a scene that from Singapore the flight is coming, and 2005 there were rains. 2005 there were rains. So 15 May, when I wrote the novel in 15, I had already a reference point of my visit to Singapore, which was far earlier, prior to even this rains. The visit which was there in Singapore was quite earlier, but that made me get into this idea of putting into a plot. So second chapter I devoted to Mumbai, and I would, before I go into further thing, this is what I wanted to say. And third thing I want to say is, when you create a draft, make a draft of your own, make a first draft, correct that draft maybe if necessary once. Don't touch that draft. Don't open your internal editor. Many people have been in the habit of editing at that time of putting. Place your raw ideas. What are your raw ideas? Those are the ideas which will ultimately appeal to people. If you put your raw ideas into people's psyche, then and you can refine those ideas. I'm not saying that keep it at raw stage. You have to refine. You have to keep your drafts changing. You have to edit, but at a later process. Don't touch the basic raw ideas till at least about a day or 2 or 3 days. Just revert to it again back when it is necessary. Don't do that, because then it will not give you the creativity. Because as I said, creativity is, you are the medium of creativity, and creativity comes when you least expect. That's what I have always been saying, that creativity comes when you least expect. Even today, even if I have to sit and do something, I have to write my fourth novel, which is about a psychological fiction. But it's not happening. It's not happening the way I want it, because that much of creativity is not coming. So I read books. I keep on reading, so that there will be some this thing. Now I want to read this part of what happened in Mumbai on 2005, 26 July 2005. This is an important thing, and the second chapter talks about Mumbai. Yeah, see, the second chapter talks about Mumbai. So I said 26th of July 2005, the day the heavens had fallen. Now, I don't know certain things, but during my time, there was nobody to guide me, so I tried this and mentioned this. The sea was turbulent, high tide was announced. The first signs of global warming was that. And I read a citation from Wikipedia. I don't know whether it is necessary to do a citation from Wikipedia, or you have to write in your own way all those things and not copy. But during my time, I never had that the understanding as to what to do. So I did a citation. Global warming and climate change, meaning a century scale rise observed in the average temperature of the Earth's climate system and its related effects. Climate change refers to any historical change in climate. There is scientific evidence now to show that the climate system is warming. More than 90% of the additional energy stored in the climate system since 1970 has gone into ocean warming. The remainder has melted ice and has warmed the continents and atmosphere. Many of the observed changes since the 1950s are unprecedented over decades to millennia. With increasing concentration of greenhouse gases and other human anthropogenic activities, the effects of an increase in global temperature include a rise in sea levels. And there I have put a quotation, and I am given the credit to from where it has been picked up, adapted from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. This is what I have put. Now, why did I mention at the end including rise in sea levels? Because I want to now connect all these floods, all these things to not only human anthropogenic activities of humans, but also to an act of God. So whatever, today global warming is not been seen merely as an act of God, but it is many things are there into it. Because of our own habits, we are facing this thing, and there are many books which talk about global warming. There are many films which are made. There are various sci-fi films made, like that. It is li-fi films are also made, and li-fi books are come. So these are fictional stories. So this is what I wanted to say. And what was the position of Mumbai? People were on the road, in streets and by lanes. Water all around, buses, taxis, tempos, cars, all at a standstill. People in buses sleeping without food, helpless. Lots of umbrellas opening from side windows of the cars, which moved at a snail's pace. Some had all their windows closed. There was a near absence of a phone network, which meant mobile phones were not working properly or were dead. Mumbai was virtually at a standstill. I said Mumbai was dead, but actually virtually at a standstill. Now, this is the reality which was there in Mumbai, but you have to little bit fictionalize the whole process, because nobody, this book is definitely not about Mumbai, or it is not about Singapore. It is about some more big idea. So what is that big idea? You will come to know about this big idea as we go further. So this is what I wanted to say, and how you pick up, how you write, how to create chapters, how you make your this thing storyline into small paragraphs in such a way that you are and in the process you learn the craft. In the process you learn the craft. Then I will when I go further, I will explain what exactly is to be done while doing the craft. Now this is, I am also explaining the process of craft. But first understand whether you are a plancer or you are a plotter. Eventually I became a plotter, but initially I started as a plancer, let me tell you that. And those events, as it happened, many times you find that your characters start dictating. And when you type, you find your characters has started dictating you now. This is what has to happen, what should happen. And this is how the story goes along. Although you have a fixed idea about how it should end, but still there will be many variations, and a lot of things can be added to make a wonderful story. Thank you very much. I end my third video here for today's work. Thank you.